Have you ever had this one friend that you have considered more than just a friend, but instead family? Now just imagine one day you become really close friends with the person that has always been there for you. But there's always this, or there's a group of you guys, but there's always one person that doesn't not treat you just like a friend, but family. The friends that you make throughout your life do become more than just family, and you might not think that, but overnight they become family. In my speech, I will try and persuade you guys to watch or convince you guys to watch Life as We Know It, directed by Greg Berlanti, which was published in 2010, which is filled with meaningful and powerful messages for the audience, which is meant to convince the audience to basically cherish all the moments that they have around with each other. Although this movie is not a real life story, the directors of the movie tried their best to make sure that the message is spread in the making. It's not like a regular rom-com movie, nor is it a popular movie, but it sure will change your perspective on the people that you choose to have in your friends and in your life. In my speech, I will share the summary of the movie. Next, I will share my opinion of the movie. And lastly, I will share the opinion of other critics. The film Life as We Know It, directed by Greg Berlanti, released in 2010, shares how two close friends, Holly and Eric, become more than just friends to Allison and Peter and their daughter, Sophie. It's no spoiler that Peter and Allison get into a really bad car accident and unfortunately pass away. Allison and Peter left their two best friends in charge of their daughter, Sophie. Now, Holly and Eric are left with this decision on who will take care of Sophie and who will adopt her eventually. I do want to backtrack for a moment. Before the passing of Allison and Peter, Holly and Eric do try and go on a first date, which Allison and Peter do set up for them. This date does end terribly for both of them. Once the movie starts, you see how Holly and Eric dislike each other from the beginning because of the first date. This is all about to change when they find out the terrible news about their best friends and the passing, and how they will now be in charge of guardianship over Sophie. I don't want to spoil much about how the movie ends or what happens, but I will say that Holly and Eric will find a way to put their opinions about each other and their dislike opinions and negative energy aside in order to have a safe and loving environment for their goddaughter Sophie. As the movie goes on, we see that Holly and Eric try their best to go on a second date, but things don't work out, unfortunately. They both equally adopt Sophie, yet the second date does not even come close to the first one. The second one just ends up breaking them apart even more, but there's always one little connection that they always have, which is Sophie. I now want to show you guys a clip of my movie.
Now, you must have many questions.
Well, Sophie, I think that's who we're both thinking of.
Yes.
What will happen to her now?
Allison and Peter talked to you about their guardianship arrangements.
No.
Well, in preparing their will, we talked about who would take care of Sophie in the unlikely event that they should both die, and they named you. Both of you.
I'm sorry. They picked us together?
I'm sure this isn't exactly how you wanted to start a family.
There's been a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
We are not married.
No. They tried to set us up in a blind date. We never even made it to the restaurant.
I don't even know if
It's
you're calling
not
it a
exactly.
date.
Alrighty. Now that we see the movie, I want to give a brief overview of my opinion, and then I will share the opinion of other critics. The movie can be confusing at first, but you might get lost in some points, but once you start to understand the message that is being spread behind it, you realize that it is a very good ending. The ending might seem like it's never going to come, but it will come, trust me. You might think that there will never be a perfect ending, but you see that Holly and Eric try their best and try everything in order to make sure that Sophie has the best life possible. Whether they have disagreements and they dislike each other, they will always realize that Sophie is their main priority, and that is what Allison and Peter left them to do. Both Holly and Eric end up realizing that they probably were not meant to be parents, but they understand that Allison and Sophie did decide to put Holly and Eric on their will as caregivers of Sophie if anything were to ever happen to both of them. Now, my opinion on why it's worth watching. Not only does the movie show how friendships are meaningful, yet you see how friends have your back no matter what, even when you least expect it to. Obviously, in the movie, we see that Holly and Eric least do not expect to be parents overnight. In the movie, Holly tells Eric, and I quote, "Parenting is not always the way you might think it happened. Just know just how you know not to expect to be Sophie's father." This is kind of confusing, but Holly is basically trying to tell Eric that even though she's going to be Sophie's father figure publicly, he does need to know that, Peter was always there as a father and he was always a great father. So in the movie, we see that that is the main priority for Holly. Okay. Next, I want to share about the opinion of other critics and what they had to say about the film. Critics that agree with me are the LA Times, which dated on October 8th of 2010, which states, "The movie was messy at times and rough around the edges, but it was worth hanging around for." I feel like I agree with the LA Times because I feel as if there were points in the movie where it was messy, but once you realize what the movie is coming to, you will make sure and you will feel like the movie was worth your time. The Independent Critic states also on October 8th of 2010 that Katherine Heigl's films were probably one of the best, and they say Heigl's films, then when you undoubtedly appreciate Life as We Know It, yet another rom-com, yet one where she has actual chemistry with co-star Josh Duhamel, and were treated to babies. So in this, I feel like I agree with it because Katherine Heigl does have chemistry with Josh, and that is honestly the most important thing about it. If two movie stars don't have chemistry with each other, then the movie is not a good movie. We see that the movie does go on, and if you guys were to watch it, you guys see that this movie does come out good. A lot of people have hate towards it because it's a rom-com as a genre, but I feel as if that the directors were not only trying to make it a rom-com because it is funny at times, but the directors did feel, or I felt as if the directors did want to make it a message to the audience. On October 8th of 2010, Time magazine reviewed the movie and said that it was not funny and there were better things that could have saved the movie. I feel like I personally disagree with this review because it might have been their own opinion, which is totally okay because the genre of the movie does say rom-com, but the movie is more than just a rom-com because it spreads messages to people about friendships and the friends that you choose to have in your life and in the lives of your children eventually. On October 7th of 2010, Kath Clark from The Guardian said that Katherine Heigl will most likely not be Katherine Heigl will most likely not be will be the next resort for the next rom-com around. I personally disagree with this because Katherine Heigl is known to be in many films. She is Izzy from Grey's Anatomy, and in Grey's Anatomy, if any of you guys have seen, we see that she is a great actress, and Katherine Heigl is known to be an actress or to be a character who likes attention and likes the fact that she's a good actress. I personally do disagree with this because she did a really good job, and everyone in that movie did a part in trying to make the movie. So that is just my personal opinion. Now that you have heard and are familiar with other critics, let's dive into my conclusion. I provided an overview of Life as We Know It. Then I shared my opinion, and then I finally provided you with the opinion of other critics. If you enjoy rom-coms with meanings and good characters, then this is a movie for you. Just remember that, as LA Times did state, the movie might be messy at times, but it is worth waiting for until the end, because the end will all make sense once you figure out what happens. Thank you.